for the evening of Saturday the 14th, reading the penultimate chapter of Dracula, Dracula chapter 26, with Badger Spanner. Here's a couple songs before we get going.
I want a girl who will mine for her diamonds. I want a girl who can sort a chest. I want a girl with shears that cut and swords that burn through zombie flesh. I want a girl who knows world generation, who crafts furrows and times her attack. She's modding her community. She's flying through the air. She's smelting out impurities and feeding her cat. I want a girl with a lectern and a full cauldron. I want a girl who logs in early. I want a girl who plays till late. I want a girl with unobstructed creativity who uses a tripwire to ruin your day. With shulker boxes organized and lustrous in a tone that will torch you like desert grass. Who crafts furrows and times her attack. She's smelting out impurities and feeding her cat. I want a girl with a lectern and a full cauldron. Shields is emblazoned. I want a girl with good enchantments. On some server we will meet incidentally. We'll start to talk as we shoot skeletons. She wants a spawn with biome convenience. She wants a spawn that's in good repair. She's changing her end from wither to dragon. She's trading her archery for a trident that's self-repairing. I want a girl with a lectern and a full cauldron. Summer is past, but your days keep growing longer. There's no wind in your sails, but the storm's blowing stronger. Walking hard, standing tall, keeping your head up through it all. Fighting fires, spinning plates. Goodness, how did it get so late? Down and dream. Lay your head down and lay your head down and dream. Lay your head down and just let your mind flow downstream. Sprawled out in a moonbeam. Lay your head down and dream. Joe Hills is filmed before a live streaming audience.
That's us! How Howdy, y'all. Joe Hills here, recording as I always do in Nashville, Tennessee, and tonight y'all are my live streaming audience. I am joined via international telephonic connection by my beloved betrothed. That's right, Badger Spanner. Badger, am I coming loud and clear for you over there?
Coming out loud and clear. Hello.
Hello. I hope.
Hello.
Oh, how are you?
What?
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 Having a go, isn't it? That sort of thing, right?
You having a go?
Yeah, no.
You having a go?
I found that the best way to ruin a British impression is when you get to the part where you would say "in it," you say "isn't it."
Yeah.
Yeah.
That genuinely works well.
You having a Joe?
Yeah. Apparently, I need to be up in the mix again.
I just raised you, and I will.
No.
There we go.
How do I sound, chat?
Yay. Yeah, there's something with the in-game audio on the voice chat is just like way louder than Discord for some reason.
Yeah.
And I've tried fixing it so that they're the same, but it never, like, it's one of those things that keeps overshooting one way or the other. So, okay.
Yeah.
So as long as Scar doesn't show up in in-game voice chat and blow out everybody's ears, we should be all right. So, yes, happy Dracula Saturday, everybody. I'm going to post the Project Gutenberg link and pin it in each chat, not East chat.
The East chat.
Yes. Message pinned.
The wings of your chat.
Okay, so manually unpin at the end of the stream. Okay. And so, yeah, we are reading the second to last chapter of Dracula today. Badger, were you here yesterday for any of the stream? I think you popped in a little bit, but I don't know if you saw how much I got done by the end.
I didn't. I kind of, drifted off a bit.
Well,
but wow, that looks really cool.
Thank you. Yeah, so this is, for folks at home, this is a test. I took a random diagonal strip of artwork from what's going to be the skin of the pinball machine and just started putting it on this wall here. And it ended up working out pretty well. There's a huge spiral galaxy that needs to go in at this last bit here that there's no way for me to build that during Dracula. However, one of the things I learned during that test is that I'm going to need a ton of brown dye. Like, I didn't realize how much, in order to get like the orange light to blend in. Wow, this is...
Oh, wow. Yeah, that ping is fun times.
Yeah, we've been having a great time with the ping lately. Okay. So, what I was going to say is, in order to get the orange to blend in with the black, I'm going to need a lot of black terracotta, which I can make with the wither roses that I've already been provided by Tango. But I also need to make a lot of brown terracotta as well, and brown concrete. The brown terracotta I can mine. The brown concrete I can't. So what I'm figuring I'll do is I'll make myself a nice little, what do you call it? Cocoa bean farm that we can bone meal during the stream.
Delicious.
Jackie Ann, our first tip of the stream, writes, was so funny that Asuma didn't know who Badger is. Happy moving in to both of you. Much love. Well, thank you very much, Jackie Ann. That's gonna put us...
The funny thing about it is we've known each other for 5 years. Azuma and I have, like, we know each other.
Yeah, because he used to volunteer, like, on his server and stuff, yeah.
But he didn't put 2 and 2 together that Joe and I were together. Yeah. So it's like 2 completely separate people suddenly going, oh yeah, we're getting married together. So it completely blew his little brain.
Yeah.
Even though he told like multiple times.
It's fine. Like, I mean, honestly, HermitCraft meetings are so chaotic.
I know.
Like, it's very chaotic environment.
There was also like earlier on in our relationship, like you didn't have like a server that we could go and hang out on because you still had like a fan realm or something at that point.
Yeah.
And I actually just emailed X. I was like, "Hey, can Joe get whitelisted to your creative server that I was a member of?" And he was like, "Yeah, of course." And I was like, "Oh, brilliant! You've saved date night," and it didn't like.
Well, I mean, in fairness, a lot of cultures eat dates and other prune-like fruits, Like, this could have meant a lot of things, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Paul Tales, reading with a party of 7. Welcome. We are going to be starting to read chapter 26 of Dracula in just a few minutes. We like to give everybody a few minutes to come in and join the stream and get settled before we jump right in. Although, since Badger is living in London at the moment and is 6 hours ahead of us, we don't want to run too late tonight because, yeah, that's late. It's already late. I appreciate you. You said you took a nap already, so you'd have the energy.
Yeah.
So thank you for structuring your day around making this happen for everybody here. It's always more fun when you're here. So, okay. In terms of, I don't know who's in this chapter because we literally, this is a blind reading of Dracula. Last time I read this was like over a decade ago. It looks like Dr. Seward is the first person. Mina has some bits.
Yeah.
It looks like there's a lot of Mina stuff. Do you want to do Mina and Lord Godalming? And
that sounds good.
I'll handle the... Yeah, it looks like it's half and half Mina and the others. So that would actually work out. If that... Yeah. Okay. Great. So we're going to jump right in. I'm going to start harvesting some jungle wood so I can make a rudimentary cocoa bean farm. So here we go. Wait, I don't have the... I have the windows like slightly overlapping in such a way that I can't read them until I click on that. Okay, cool. Now, here we go. Chapter 26, Dr. Seward's Diary, 29th of October. This is written in the train from Varna to Galatz. Last night, we all assembled a little before the time of sunset. Each of us had done his work as well as he could, so far as thought and endeavor and opportunity go. We are prepared for the whole of our journey and for our work when we get to Galatz. When the usual time came round, for Mrs. Harker prepared herself for her hypnotic effort, and after a longer and more serious effort on the part of Van Helsing than has been usually necessary, she sank into the trance. Usually she speaks on a hint, but this time the professor had to ask her questions, and to ask them pretty resolutely before we could learn anything. At last her answer came.
I can see nothing. We are still. There are no waves lapping, but only a steady swirl of water slowly running against the hawser. I can hear men's voices calling, near and far. The roll and creak of oars is in the rowlocks. A gun is fired somewhere. The echo of it seems far away. There is tramping of feet overhead, and ropes and chains are dragged along. What is this? There is a gleam of light. I can feel the air blowing upon me.
Here she stopped. She had risen as if impulsively from where she lay on the sofa, and raised both her hands, palms upwards, as if lifting a weight. Van Helsing and I looked at each other with understanding. Quincy raised his eyebrows slightly and looked at her intently, whilst Harker's hand instinctively closed round the hilt of his kukri. There was a long pause. We all knew that the time during which she could speak was passing. But we felt that it was useless to say anything. Suddenly, she sat up and, as she opened her eyes, said sweetly,
Would none of you like a cup of tea? You must all be so tired.
We could only make her happy, and so acquiesced. She bustled off to get tea. When she had gone, Van Helsing said,
You see, my friends, he is close to hand. He has left his earth chest, but he has yet to go ashore. In the night he may lie hidden somewhere, but if he be not carried on shore, or if the ship do not touch it, he cannot achieve the land. In such case he can, if it be the night, change his form, and can jump or fly on shore, as he did at Whitby. But if the day come before he get on shore, then, unless he be carried, he cannot escape. And if he be carried, then the customs men may discover what the box contain. Thus, in fine, if he escape not on shore tonight, or before dawn, there will be the whole day lost to him. We may then arrive in time, for if he escape not at night, we shall come on him in daytime, boxed up and at our mercy. For he dare not be his true self, awake and visible, lest he be discovered.
There was no more to be said, so we waited in patience until the dawn, at which time we might learn more from Mrs. Harker. Early this morning, we listened with breathless anxiety for her response in her trance. The hypnotic stage was even longer in coming than before, and when it came, the time remaining until full sunrise was so short that we began to despair. Van Helsing seemed to throw his whole soul into the effort. At last, in obedience to his will, she made reply.
All is dark. I hear lapping water, level with me, and some creaking as of wood on wood.
She paused, and the red sun shot up. We must wait till tonight. And so it is we are traveling toward Galatz in an agony of expectation. We are due to arrive between 2 and 3 in the morning, but already at Bucharest we are 3 hours late, so we cannot possibly get in till well after sunup. Thus we shall have 2 more hypnotic messages from Mrs. Harker. Either or both may possibly throw light on what is happening. So that's the end of that part of the October 29th entry. Some folks are coming in and asking what's going on. We are reading Dracula. It's me and my beloved betrothed, Badger Spanner.
Howdy. Sorry.
No, it's fine. Yeah, I figured you were probably muted there. But, while we do stuff like that, I try to do really simple tasks in Minecraft that I need to do anyway, like grow a bunch of these cocoa beans, which is relatively straightforward, but it's not something I normally do, and I'm having a little bit more trouble keeping an eye on the text while I'm navigating the game than usual. Chloe the Great and Powerful tips 3 and says, yippee for Dracula. Thank you, Chloe the Great and Powerful. That puts us 12 away from our first face camera expansion. Tips are welcome via paypal.me/JoeHills and YouTube Super Chat. One thing I wanted to show off before we got too late, one of the other reasons it might seem like I'm kind of brain dead today is I actually spent like most of the day editing. I took a few brief breaks to make my daughter food and to complain on Twitter about a shopping cart for something. I needed to buy something to make the cards look right in my animations. I keep thinking, oh, I'm done with this episode. And then, so basically I was like, okay, I'm just putting in animations for all the attacks. That's all I'm going to worry about is animations and some fancy text for each attack. And then this morning, Cleo's like, oh, I took screenshots of all the cards. Here's a copy if you want them. And I'm like, well, now that I have those, I should throw a card placement animation in for every card played. And so here is a Twitter link to me attempting to buy that animation pack. Because... Oh, wait, no, that's the wrong one. That's the second attempt. Where's the first attempt? Okay, here's the first attempt.
First attempt was you just sitting there going, I want to
buy
check
it.
out.
Yeah.
Check it. Check out which button.
Why are they doing this to me? But yeah, I'm gonna give everybody a chance to look at that. But once we get once they have a chance to look at that, I did make a brief export of the end result of getting the other stuff in. But yeah, I have learned more about special effects editing in the last week than I have in years. I am really feeling excited because like a lot of the stuff that we're doing with this card game isn't going to necessarily make sense in every context in every HermitCraft episode, but I'm already in the back of my head like, oh, okay, well I could use that for this, or if we did that later, you know, like there's little places where I'm like, oh, this could be a fun little visual treat to mix in. So yeah, let's go ahead and harvest some of these. Good old online shopping.
Yeah, that's always fun. Yeah, Devon Crotty says, so which button did you choose?
I tried them both, and they both seem to take you to the same page, and so I eventually just went with the checkout one.
I was gonna say, like, was one of them supposed to say keep shopping or continue shopping?
I don't know. That's what was part of what was upsetting me is I'm like, don't give me more choices. Like,
I don't like
my brain is melting. Video editing is so many choices all the time, nonstop, and then I gotta deal with this. Come on. Why you gotta do this to me? Oh boy. I was legitimately upset about that chatbot thing because that chatbot thing has been popping up. Like I've been using that website to pick up a lot of different cool animation packs and stuff over the last week and a half. So I've been on that website a lot. I've looked at probably 80 or 90 different things they offer. I've only like bought 5 of them, but you know, like I've spent a lot of time on that website, and that little chatbot thing is always like popping up like, hey, do you need anything? Hey, do you need anything? I've never actually clicked on it until today because I was like, I'm going to find out. I'm going to find out why there's 2 checkout buttons because there's a chatbot here. And then it gave me this like stupidly long form, and that was not me like hamming it up like, oh, I wonder what happens when I click on this chatbot. I was like legitimately just like, I was going to ask the chatbot about the buttons, and now it's not worth it, and I don't know how to end this video. I'm just sad.
Oh,
boy. Yeah, this is a timeline splitter. Yeah, they build this into certain technology so we don't get too dependent on one timeline.
Choose your own adventure book.
Oh, yeah. So, but anyway... So I think everybody's had a chance to watch both of those tweets if they hadn't caught them earlier. I'm going to go ahead and I want to throw on the screen real quick a test export. Now there's going to be some audio for this. Badger, you're not going to be able to hear it, but it's
Next time I'm watching the stream as well, I'll just have a slight delay.
Okay. So I'm turning that on now.
Stress.
I don't think I can hear it either.
Goat. Oh,
With
right.
goat.
Woodstock. Correct.
Yeah.
So that's 70 to 10.
I think Joe's got this one.
Okay, so I'm going to attack Doc with Geezer for 80 and draw a card and end my turn.
Such a close game.
So anyway, that was just... I have 30 minutes of that. I animated 30 minutes of us playing cards with distinct...
Genuinely looks cool, though.
Yeah, like every hermit has a distinct animation for when their card does something. The different attacks do different stuff. Like the... I really went all in on this because, you know, Beef worked so hard on this. I want to make sure... Uh-oh. Can things still grow if you accidentally take the bark off these? Wait.
I'm not sure.
What? Hold on.
Anything
Well, now I'm
we
going to
can.
take all the bark off.
As you do.
Yeah, so that way I don't accidentally remove the bark from any of the others in the future. It's all gone already.
Clever. Mm-hmm.
But yeah. So I really showing that little clip is not spoiling the episode because there's that game was neck and neck the whole time, and the animations are like really cool the whole time. Like that wasn't just like the only cool one. Like when I first posted the cottagecore one, I was kind of like, it's a shame that the rest of these don't look as cool as cottagecore. That's the only one that was the one that I was like, oh, okay, I can really go all in on this. And then the other was like, I was like, what do I do now? But like, boy, I have figured out what to do now. I am putting the hot in the heart bar, Daniel J. McGrail. Let me make sure that I haven't gotten any PayPal tips, if that's what you're hinting at. Like, do I need to check PayPal? No, I don't. But thank you for mentioning either way. Tips are welcome via paypal.me/JoeHills and YouTube Super Chat. Jackie Ann says, I'm finding it hard to follow the game, so I need to watch more to understand it. Well, that's the thing is, like, my videos, I'm working on, like, a custom set of overlays and stuff like that that'll make it really easy to follow the game, even if you're not paying 100% attention, because I know a lot of y'all like to do laundry and stuff while you watch videos. That's what I do. Also, so that way, if we're showing highlights of games, you can easily tell what the state is of a game that we're only showing 5 minutes of if we're not playing the whole thing through in the episode, that sort of thing. So, anyway,
And also, it looks cool as anything, and you've got it in your like editing arsenal after that.
Oh yeah. Like honestly, like the stuff I bought, when we hang out in London, if you want to like stand in front of a monument and pretend you're like one of the kids from Avatar, like waterbending or something, I can edit you waterbending effects so easily. Like, yeah, just do some kicks real quick and we'll get it turned around. But like, yeah, I can really tell that the people who designed these graphics packs with these animations really liked Avatar: The Last Airbender, because basically any sort of elemental type of attack you would need to edit into a video is somehow achievable with the tools they've created. So
Perfect.
I was actually kind of disappointed that more of the cards that came up in our game, that Cleo and I played, didn't have like elemental stuff, because I'm like, man, what am I gonna do with these 40 different types of waves I can create? You know, it's like, okay, I got to play with the electricity a little bit with Doc, but yeah, it's like, oh boy, this is some very high end stuff, and I'm barely scratching the surface of it. But yeah, I've spent more time editing this video than basically anything I've worked on in a long time, possibly
say,
years.
like, on Love Tropics, we have a game called Survive the Tides, and the tide literally like rises as like concerns for the environment kind of amp up, and you get acid rain and stuff like that. Like recording a little version of that with all of the After Effects would be very, very cool.
Oh yeah. There's all sorts of stuff that I was thinking, like, and this might be, we've been taught. Everybody's like, oh, you got to get into shorts. I'm like, I don't know what I'm gonna do with shorts. Blah 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 blah. Like, part of me is like, okay, I could probably find random 30-second clips of HermitCraft stuff, and then like Photoshop in like when somebody's jumping around and doing stupid stuff, like I'll make it look like they're water bending or something. I don't know. Like, why not? I got the footage. I'm doing what I want.
Yeah. You can make your own cheap full form films now.
Yeah.
Instead of shorts. Whilst you wear shorts, apparently.
Yeah. Well, that's what I should do, is I should just record a minute of me like walking around in shorts every day. This is my daily YouTube shorts.
There you go.
Like,
What can go wrong?
nothing. I'm sure that will only attract the exact right audience for long form Minecraft shows. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump back in to Dracula chapter 26. Yeah, I see you in the chat saying I would watch that. I know. I know I'm attractive. It's fine. You don't have to remind me. Okay, so anyway, let's go ahead and get back to Dracula. This is still the 29th of October in Dr. Seward's journal. Later. Sunset has come and gone. Fortunately, it came at a time when there was no distraction, for had it occurred whilst we were at a station, we might not have secured the necessary calm and isolation. Mrs. Harker yielded to the hypnotic influence even less readily than this morning. I am in fear that her power of reading the Count's sensations may die away. Just when we want it most. It seems to me that her imagination is beginning to work. Whilst she has been in the trance hitherto, she has confined herself to the simplest of facts. If this goes on, it may ultimately mislead us. If I thought the Count's power over her would die away equally with the power of knowledge, it would be a happy thought, but I am afraid that it may not be so. When she did speak, her words were enigmatical.
Something is going out. I can feel it pass me like a cold wind. I can hear, far off, confused sounds, as of men talking in strange tongues. Fierce falling water, and the howling of wolves.
She stopped, and a shudder ran through her, increasing in intensity for a few seconds. Till, at the end, she looked as though in a palsy. She said no more, even in answer to the professor's imperative questioning. When she woke from the trance, she was cold and exhausted and languid, but her mind was alert. She could not remember anything, but asked what she had said. When she was told, she pondered over it deeply for a long time, and in silence. 30th October, 7 a.m. We are near Galatz now, and I may not have the time to write later. Sunrise this morning was anxiously looked for by us all. Knowing of the increasing difficulty of procuring the hypnotic trance, Van Helsing began his passes earlier than usual. They produced no effect, however, until the regular time, when she yielded with a still greater difficulty, only a minute before the sun rose. The professor lost no time in his questioning. Her answer came with the usual quickness.
All is dark. I hear water swirling by, level with my ears, and the creaking of wood on wood. Cattle low far off. There is another sound, a queer one, like...
She stopped and grew white, and whiter still.
Go on! Speak! I command you!
Said Van Helsing in an agonized voice. At the same time, there was despair in his eyes, for the risen sun was reddening even Mrs. Harker's pale face. She opened her eyes, and we all started as she said, sweetly and seemingly with the utmost concern.
Oh, Professor, why do you ask me to do what you know I can't? I don't remember anything.
Then, seeing the look of amazement on our faces, she said, turning from one to the other with a troubled look.
What have I said? What have I done? I know nothing. That I was lying here, half asleep, and heard you say, "Go on, speak, I command you." It seems so funny to hear you order me about, as if I was a bad child.
Oh, Madam Mina! It is proof, if proof be needed, of how I love and honor you.
when a word for your good, spoken more earnest than ever, can seem so strange, because it is to order her who I am proud to obey. The whistles are sounding. We are nearing Galatz. We are on fire with anxiety and eagerness. And that concludes the Dr. Seward journal for the 30th of October. Let's see if we got any tips rolling in via PayPal or anything. Nope.
Something goes wrong. Like, then what if...
Oh, I accidentally clicked on my tweet and it started screaming at me, what if something goes wrong? And I'm like... I was like, is that coming on Badger's end? Or like, what is that? What's that coming? Why am I yelling? Someone says an axe will break the cocoa beans faster. Yeah, but it might accidentally strip the bark off the logs if we're not careful. But just as a quick reminder, tips are welcome via paypal.me/JoeHills and YouTube Super Chat. Okay. So, looks like the next little bit is Mina Harker's journal, and then there's going to be some Jonathan Harker's journal. So, if you're coming in right now, we are about to start reading Chapter 26 of Dracula for the 30th of October. Mina Harker's journal. Badger, anything you want to, any thoughts or anything you want to talk about before we jump right in?
No, I'm ready to just jump in.
Awesome. Well, I know it's late for you there, so I don't want to keep you up.
Yeah.
Take it away.
30th of October. Mr. Morris took me to the hotel where our rooms had been ordered by telegraph. He being the one who could best be spared, since he does not speak any foreign language. The forces were distributed much as they had been at Varna, except Lord Godalming went to the vice-consul, as his rank might serve as an intermediate guarantee of some sort to the official. We being in extreme hurry, Jonathan and the two doctors went to the shipping agent to learn the particulars of the arrival of the Tsarina Catherine. Later, Lord Godalming has returned. The consul is away and the vice-consul sick, so the routine work has been attended to by a clerk. He is very obliging and has offered to do anything in his power.
And then that leads us into Jonathan Harker's journal. But first, we got a tip rolling in from Stephanie Hall, 420, who says, time to get the strongest man alive out of the hot bar. So here we go. Let's pop OBS into the foreground here so I can actually see where we are. Howdy, y'all. Grow Hills here, expanding as I always do in Nashville, Tennessee. Dee-da-dee-da-dee, dee-da-dee-da-dee, dee-dee. Yeah. Dave, USPS says the American is the only one that speaks only one language. Womp womp. Well, yeah, I mean, in fairness, I don't know. Yeah, when I go to London this spring, I'm gonna have to learn to speak English. So I don't know how I could possibly prepare for that endeavor.
You got to get rid of all of those like Z's out of your thing for realize. Got to put an S there instead.
Realize. Sometimes I've seemed to realize the uncertainties stinging clear. And I can't help but ask myself how much I let the fear take the wheel and steer. It's driven me before, but it seems to have a vague, haunting mass appeal. But lately I'm beginning to find that I should be the one behind the wheel. Whatever tomorrow brings, I'll be there with open arms and open eyes, yeah. See, I'm ready for England. This is how they talk there.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Uh-huh.
I thought there would be more S and Z sounds in that song, but there's only the one in the first lyric. And I was like, if I keep going, I'll hit more S and Z sounds, but there's none. No more. All done.
You're ready for England.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I need to, yeah. I was told at a New Year's party, I know I told you this story, Badger, but other people might not have heard it. I showed up at this New Year's party, and one of the guys stopped me and was like, Joe, you might not know you're doing this, but you're actually dressed like a really wealthy football player. And I'm like, what? And he's like, not American football, but like in England right now, the way you're dressed right now is part of this new thing they're calling bloke core, where they just try to dress like regular blokes. and you just look like just the biggest, just average schmuck right now. Like, they would spend so much money to dress like you're dressing. And I'm just like, okay. And he's like, let me find pictures of football players on my phone dressed like you right now. And I'm like, that's really not necessary.
It costs a lot to look like you.
Yeah, it costs a lot to look like me if you're. So for all I know, I might get over there and people are like, oh wow, who's that guy?
Now, was that when the night that you had to literally?
That was
give...
not the night that I had to trade that I lost my
Yeah,
shirt
the
in the Dirty Santa game. No, no, I was wearing one of my like plaid shirts.
Yeah.
Like the green and brown one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's a very unremarkable shirt. It's so unremarkable. Apparently, it's fashionable in England among football players or something.
Yep. As you do.
But if people are like, "Who's that guy?" I could be like, "That's Joe Hales." Okay.
It's kind of a big deal in America.
Yeah. You know, it's one of those things like, despite all those semesters of Japanese I took, I'm still not big in Japan. I bet if I started doing my videos in Japanese sometimes, that would really help. Because, like, you know, like, there's somebody who does Mumbo's videos in, like, Portuguese, and he has, like, a stupid number of viewers. But I think it's a lot easier to just steal other people's videos and redo them in a different language.
I was gonna say, yeah, that's a thing, too.
Yeah. This is actually going way quicker. I didn't realize how efficient this little, like, stupid wall
Grant
form would
Rogers says if Joe gets a fashion line, he should call it The Difference.
Oh, hey, that's nice. Add to your wardrobe with The Difference. I don't know. If I just do Mumbo's videos in Japanese, I based on how I think Mumbo's, you know, not really happy about this stuff. But part of the problem is, though, that the people who do this, they'll like they don't come into it and say, "Oh, I love Mumbo. I'm going to interpret his video for my local audience so that they can, you know, it's not like a fan dub, right? Like with anime where people be like, "Oh my gosh, I got this VHS tape of the new like Studio Ghibli movie before it came out in the United States."
Where they translate everything and do their own dub for it.
Yeah, where they translate it into a dub. Like it's just the guy like pretending to be Mumbo but speaking Portuguese. But like but not pretending to be Mumbo like he's just like he instead of saying, "Hi, I'm Mumbo," he says, "Hi, I'm the name of my YouTube channel." Right? Like he pretends that he's Mumbo. It's like impersonation type of thing. Why would Joe have a fashion line? Well, because a fashion circle is, I don't know. It doesn't extend infinitely in intersecting 2 points. I had something for this. I'm tired. I have been editing. I have been editing all day.
Editing jail.
Yeah, I've been in editing jail all day. It's okay. I think we should probably. Here's the thing: is even though it's like 3 a.m. where you are, I might be the one that whose mind gives out first if we don't keep reading. So
Yeah, fair.
let's get back to Dracula.
Would you like me to be the captain?
Yeah, that would be great.
Awesome.
Okay. 30th October. At 9 o'clock, Dr. Van Helsing, Dr. Seward, and I called on Misters Mackenzie and Steinkopf, the agents of the London firm of Hapgood. They had received a wire from London in answer to Lord Godalming's telegraphed request, asking us to show them any civility in their power. They were more than kind and courteous, and took us at once on board the Tsarina Catherine, which lay at anchor out in the river harbor. There we saw the captain, Donaldson by name, who told us of his voyage. He said that in all his life he had never had so favorable a run.
Man, but it made us afeard, for we expected that we should have to pay with some rare piece of ill luck to us keep up the average. It's no canny to run frae London to the Black Sea with a wind ahint ye, as through the Dell himself were bawling on your sail for his ain purpose. And at the time, we could no spare a thing. Gin were nigh a ship, nor a port or a headland. A fog fell on us, and travelled with us, till after it had been lifted, and we looked out, the deal a thing we could see. We ran by Gibraltar, without even being to signal, till an we came to Dardanelles and had to wait to get our permit to pass. We were never within Halo aught. At first, I inclined to sack off sail and beat about till the fog was lifted. But whiles, I thought, if the Dale was minded to get us to the back sea quick, he was like to do it, whether we would or no. If we had a quick voyage, it would be no more to our miscredit with the owners, or no hurt to our traffic. And the old man who served his same purpose would be decently grateful for us no hindering him.
This mixture of simplicity and cunning, of superstition and commercial reasoning, aroused Van Helsing, who said,
Mine friend, the devil is more clever than he is thought by some, and he know when he meet his match.
The skipper was not displeased with the compliment, and went on.
When we got past the Bosphorus, the men began to grumble. Some of them, the Romanians, came and asked to heave overboard a big box that had been put on board by a queer-looking old man just before we'd started for London. I had seen them spare the fellow and put out 12 fingers when I saw him to guard against the evil eye. Man, but the superstition of foreigners is perfectly ridiculous. I sent them about their business pretty quick, but just after a fog closed in on us, I felt a wee bit they didn't something. Though I wouldn't say it was again the big box. Well, on we went, and as the fog didn't let up for 5 days, I just let the wind carry us, for if the Dale wanted to get us somewheres, well, he would fetch it up a reet, and if he didn't, well, we'd keep a sharp lookout anyhow, sure enough. We had a fair way and a deep water all the time, and 2 days ago, when the morning sun came through the fog, we found ourselves just in the river opposite Galatz. The Romanians were wild, and wanted me right or wrong to take the box and fling it in the river. I had argued with them about it with a handspike, And when the last of them rose off the deck with his head in his hands, I convinced him that, evil eye or no evil eye, the property and the trust of my owners were better in my hands than on the River Danube. They had, mind you, taken the box on the deck ready to fling in. And as was Mark Galat's via Varna, I thought I'd let it lie till we discharged in the port and get rid of it altogether. We didn't do much clearing that day, and to remain the neck at anchor. But in the morning, broad and early, an hour before sunup, a man came aboard with an order, written to him from England, to receive a box marked for one Count Dracula. Sure enough, the matter was one ready to his hand, and he had his papers already, and glad I was to get rid of the damn thing, for I was beginning to myself to feel uneasy at it. If the devil did have any luggage aboard the ship, I'm thinking it was 9 either, that the same.
What was the name of the man that took it?
Asked
I'd
Dr.
be ten-
I was going to say, asked Dr. Van Helsing with restrained eagerness.
I'd be telling you quick.
He answered, and, stepping down to his cabin, produced a receipt signed Emmanuel Hiddlesheim. Bergenstrasse 16 was the address. We found out that this was all the captain knew. So, with thanks, we came away. We found Hildesheim in his office, a Hebrew of rather the Adelphi theater type, with a nose like a sheep and a fez. His arguments were pointed with specie. We doing the punctuation, and with a little bargaining he told us what he knew. This turned out to be simple, but important. He had received a letter from Mr. Deville of London, telling him to receive, if possible before sunrise, so as to avoid customs, a box which would arrive at Galatz in the Tsarina Catherine. This he was to give in charge to a certain Petrov Skinsky, who dealt with the Slovaks who traded down the river to the port. He had been paid for his work by an English banknote, which had been duly cashed for gold at the Danube International Bank. When Skinsky had come to him, he had taken him to the ship and handed over the box so as to save porterage. That was all he knew. We then sought for Skinsky. This is like a really. I have been looking at computers all day. We then
sought for Skinsky. Like when we're unable to
this is like the worst tongue twister. We then sought for Skinsky, but were unable to find him. One of his neighbors, who did not seem to bear him any affection, said he had gone away 2 days before. No one knew whither. This was corroborated by his landlord, who had received by messenger the key of the house, together with the rent due, in English money. This had been between 10 and 11 o'clock last night. We were at a standstill again. Whilst we were talking, one came running and breathlessly gasped out that the body of Skinsky had been found inside the wall of the churchyard of St. Peter, and that the throat had been torn open as if by some wild animal. Those we had been speaking with ran off to see the horror, the women crying out, "This is the work of the Slovak!" We hurried away lest we should have been in some way drawn into the affair, and so detained. As we came home, we could arrive at no definite conclusion. We were all convinced that the box was on its way, by water, to somewhere, but where that might be, we have to discover. With heavy hearts, we came home to the hotel to Mina. When we met together, the first thing was to consult as to taking Mina into our confidence. Things are getting desperate, and it is at least a chance, though a hazardous one. As a preliminary step, I was released from my promise to her. Mina Harker's journal. Well, or that ends Jonathan Harker's journal. We don't need to jump right into Mina's since you just had to do all that sea captain stuff. I didn't realize how long that segment was.
No, it's fine. No, also, I was just about to address the casual anti-Semitism.
Yeah, I was gonna ask about that because like I was like, this is like there's some stuff where I'm like, okay, I know that this is super racist and I shouldn't read it, but I'm looking at that and I'm like, is this like dog whistle stuff or like because it
isn't dog whistle now, and back then it was just horribly just completely mainstream what people thought of Jewish people.
Yeah, because it didn't seem great. But...
Yeah, and it did not improve after the war either.
No,
in any way, shape, or form.
Yeah. So yeah, sorry about that, folks. Like I said, I haven't really pre-read this.
It's like this was written. Well, this was published in 1897.
Yeah.
And although he thought himself very progressive, there was a long way to go.
Yeah, because that's the thing is I'm looking at it and I'm like, this isn't stuff that I've heard people say that I know for sure is like just like a clear slur or anything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, okay. It didn't seem great, but I wasn't sure like...
No, but it was very much of its time.
Yeah.
And it's like... Yep. The only, like, written as Jewish person is obsessed with money and checks things for gold. Okay.
Yeah, not fantastic.
Nope.
Okay.
Oh yeah, Dave USPS says there is discourse that Dracula is an anti-Semite trope in the story. Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
And it's blood libel, and there's also anti-Romany, everything in it. So it's that kind of stuff.
Well, and like with the worst of the stuff, like if it's stuff that's like on my radar, I know to like route around it. But like with that, I was just like, ooh, it's kind of a weird description.
I think it's better to actually to say it out loud and then discuss it. Like sit there going, oh yeah, we should address this.
Mm-hmm. Well, and for context, so some of your family is Jewish.
Yeah, my grandmother.
Yeah. And so, you know, this is one of those things that you have more personal experience than I would on knowing, you know, what the situation is, how to address it.
And even if I didn't have any family, it was I grew up with a lot of in a lot of Jewish in the middle of them of Jewish communities in North London. So it's better to be a good ally in that kind of way too.
Fair enough. I think we are. Like I said, I don't want to go on too late because I know it's late there. If you're ready to continue with Mina Harker's journal, 30th October evening, jump right in.
They were so tired and worn out and dispirited that there was nothing to be done until they had some rest. So I asked them all to lie down for half an hour, whilst I should enter everything up to the moment. I feel so grateful to the man who invented the traveller's typewriter, and to Mr. Morris for getting this one for me. I should have felt quite astray doing the work if I'd had to write with a pen. It is all done, poor dear, dear Jonathan. What he must have suffered, what he must be suffering now. He lies on the sofa, hardly seeming to breathe, and his whole body appears to collapse. His brows are knit, his face is drawn with pain. Poor fellow, maybe he is thinking, and I can see his face all wrinkled up with the concentration of his thoughts. Oh, if I could only help at all. I shall do what I can. I have asked Dr. Van Helsing, and he has got me all the papers that I have not yet seen. While they are resting, I shall go over all carefully, and perhaps I may arrive at some conclusion. I shall try to follow the professor's example, and think without prejudice on the facts before me. I do believe that under God's providence, I have made a discovery. I shall get the maps and look over them. I'm more than ever sure that I am right. My new conclusion is ready. So I shall get our party together and read it. They can judge it, as is well to be accurate, and every minute is precious. Mina Harker's memorandum entered in her journal. Ground of inquiry. Count Dracula's problem is to get back to his own place. A. He must be brought back by someone. This is evident. For had he power to move himself as he wished, he could go either as a man or a wolf or a bat or in some other way. He evidently fears discovery or interference in the state of helplessness in which he must be, confined as he is between dawn and sunset in his wooden box. B. How is he to be taken? Here is a process of exclusions that may help us. By road, by rail, by water. 1. By road. There are endless difficulties, especially in leaving the city. X. There are people, and people are curious, and investigate. A hint, a surmise, a doubt as to what might be in the box would destroy him. Y. There are, or there may be, customs and octroi officers to pass. Z. His pursuers might follow. This is his highest fear, and he can order, and in order to prevent his being betrayed, he has repelled, so far as he can, even his victim, me. 2. By rail. There is no one in charge of the box. It really would have to take its chance of being delayed, and delay would be fatal with enemies on the track. True, he might escape at night, but what would he be if left in a strange place with no refuge that he could fly to? This is not what he intends, and he does not mean to risk it. 3. By water. Here is the safest way in one respect, but with the most danger in another. On the water, he is powerless except at night. Even then, he can only summon fog and storm and snow and his wolves. But were he wrecked, living water would engulf him, helpless, and he would indeed be lost. He could have the vessel drive to land, but if it were unfriendly land, wherein he was not free to move, his position would still be desperate. We know from the record that he was on the water, so what we have to do is ascertain what water. The first thing is to realize exactly what he has done as yet. We may then get a light on what his later task is to be. Firstly, we must differentiate between what he did in London as part of his general plan of action, when he was pressed for moments and had to arrange as best as he could. Secondly, we must see, as well as we can surmise it from the facts that we know of, what he has done here. As to the first, he evidently intended to arrive at Galatz, and send invoice to Varna to deceive us, lest we should ascertain his means of exit from England. His immediate and sole purpose was then to escape. The proof of this is the letter of instructions sent to Emanuel Hildesheim to clear and take away the box before sunrise. There is also the instruction of Petrov Skinsky. These we must only guess at, but there must have been some letter or message since Skinsky came to Hildesheim. That, so far, his plans were successful, we know. The Tsarina Catherine made a phenomenally quick journey, so much that Captain Donaldson's suspicions were aroused. But his superstition united him with his canniness, played the Count's game for him, and ran up with his favouring wind, through fogs and all, until he brought up blindfold at Galatz. That the Count's arrangements were well made has been proved. Hindlesheim cleared the box, took it off, and gave it to Skinsky. Skinsky took it, and here we lose the trail. We only know that the box is somewhere on the water moving along. The customs and the octroi, if there have been any, have been avoided. Now, we come to what the Count must have done after his arrival on land at Kalatz. The box was given to Skinsky before sunrise. At sunrise, the Count could appear in his own form. Here we ask why Skinsky was chosen at all to aid in this work. In my husband's diary, Skinsky is mentioned as dealing with the Slovaks who trade down the river to the port, and the man's remark that the murder was the work of a Slovak showed the general feeling against his class. The Count wanted isolation. My surmise is this, that in London the Count decided to get back to his castle by water as the most safe and secret way. He was brought from the castle by Zagani, and they probably delivered their cargo to Slovaks who took the boxes to Varna, for there they were shipped to London. Thus the Count had knowledge of the persons who could arrange this service. When the box was on land, before sunrise or after sunset, he came out from his box, met Skinsky, and instructed him what to do to arranging the carriage of the box up some river. When this was done, and he knew that all was in train, he blocked out his traces, as he thought, by murdering his agent. I have examined the map, and I find the river most suitable for Slovaks to have ascended is either the Pruth or the Sereth. I read in typescript that in my trance I heard cows low and water swirling level with my ears and the creaking of wood. The Count, in his box, then, was on a river in an open boat, propelled probably by oars or poles, for as the banks are near, it is working against the stream. There would be no such sound if floating downstream. Of course, it may not be either the Seraph or the Pruth, but we may probably investigate further. Now, of these two, the Pruth is the more easily navigated, but the Seraph at the Fundu, joined by the Bistritza, which runs up around the Borgo Pass. The loop it makes is manifestly as close to Dracula's castle as can be got by water. I'm just going to drink some water.
Yeah, and then, so that ends that part of Mina Harker's journal addendum. Whew. Nico and Indy says Mina has some high-level investigation skills. Clearly. Also, thank you to Weiss Belladonna, who says, hey, I just became a Patreon member. Can't wait to join the Discord. Yeah, just so you know, yeah, and they also just posted a message on the Discord, or not on the Discord, on the Patreon comment saying, how do I join the Discord? It's not connecting despite being on the $5 tier. So I have to send a manual invite out. Usually I do that the next business day. Because this computer doesn't have Patreon on it. This is my streaming computer. So, yeah, you'll get a invite within the next day or so. This is technically a holiday weekend, but since you're very, very concerned, I'll try to get that to you sometime tomorrow. But yeah, basically, in order to avoid bots taking advantage of, like, stolen credit cards and then breaking into the server, it's easier to just do all those invites manually in a batch. So that way I can look at them and go, does this look like it's legit? Yes. Mad Hatter, yeah, it's Martin Luther King Day weekend. Sorry, what were we going to say, Badger?
I said that helps. Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, no worries. You're not doing anything wrong. It's just that if you signed up 10, 20 minutes ago and I'm actively streaming, then I'm not actively sending out invites. So, yeah, you'll get that sometime in the next day. Stephanie Hall writes, interesting that Mina describes the ocean as living water. I know, right? Is that That's not something that I've heard used in general. I wonder if that's how the Count perceives the water, and that's something like with the telepathic link. Like, he fears the living water, and so she's...
Yeah, he physically can't cross running water in that kind of way.
Yeah.
So the ocean is a completely different kind of water to him.
Yeah. Very threatening. Okay. Were you able to get your drink?
Yeah. Yeah, I can continue.
Okay. So, let's see. So this next bit, even though it's technically narrated by Mina, it at least has a bunch of other voices in it.
Yeah, it does.
So don't worry, I will help you out with that. You ready to keep moving on, or?
I am.
Okay, go for it.
When I had done reading, Jonathan took me in his arms and kissed me. The others kept shaking me by both hands. And Dr. Van Helsing said,
Our dear Madam Mina is once more our teacher. Her eyes have been where we were blinded. Now we are on track once again. And this time we may succeed. Our enemy is at his most helpless, and if we can come on him by day, on the water, our task will be over. He has a start, but he is powerless to hasten, as he may not leave his box, lest those who carry him must suspect. For them to suspect would be to prompt them to throw him in the stream, where he perish. This he knows, and will not. Now, men, to our council of war, for here and now we must plan what each and all shall do.
I shall get a steam launch and follow him.
And horses to follow on the bank, lest by chance he land.
Good! Both good, but neither must go alone. There must be force to overcome force if need be. The Slovak is strong and rough, and he carries rude arms.
You're narrating because you're Mina.
Yes, I am, and I just completely lost my...
Well, you know what? In the meantime, let's go ahead and thank Lost Cult Music for rolling in and tipping 7, who says, cheers, Joe and Badger. And Joe, thanks for introducing me to Manu/MPT3K's Friday Riff streams. I may have a problem. I like to think of Manu streams as an opportunity.
I was going to say that's a solution for,
Yeah.
something to do on Friday nights.
Yeah, there you go. That's that puts us 5 away from our next phase camera expansion. Tips are welcome via paypal.me/JoeHills and YouTube Super Chat.
Where were we?
So,
Good, said the professor.
yeah, so you're on All the Men Smiled.
All the men smiled, for amongst them they carried a small arsenal, said Mr. Morris.
I brought some Winchesters, and they are pretty handy in a crowd, and there may be wolves. The Count, if you remember, took some other precautions. He made some requisitions on others that Mrs. Harker could not hear or understand. We must be ready at all points. I think I had better go with Quincy. We have been accustomed to hunt together, and we two, well armed, will be a match for whatever comes along. You must not be alone, Art. It may be necessary to fight the Slovaks, and a chance thrust, for I don't suppose these fellows carry guns, would undo all our plans. There must be no chances this time. We shall not rest until the Count's head and body have been separated, and we are sure he cannot reincarnate.
He looked at Jonathan as he spoke, and Jonathan looked at me. I could see that see that the poor dear was torn about in his mind. Of course, he wanted to be with me, but then the boat service would most likely be the one which would destroy the vampire. Why did I hesitate to write the word? He was silent a while, and during his silence, Dr. Van Helsing spoke.
Friend Jonathan, this is to you for twice reason. First, because you are young and brave and can fight, and all energies may be needed at the last, and again, that it is your right to destroy him, that which hath wrought such woe to you and yours. Be not afraid for Madam Mina. She will be my care. If I may, I am old. My legs are not so quick to run as once, for I am not used to ride so long or to pursue as may need be, or to fight with lethal weapons. But I can be of other service. I can fight in other way, and I can die, if need be, as well as younger men. Now, let me say what I would is this, while you, my Lord Godalming, and friend Jonathan, go in your so swift little steamboat up the river, and whilst John and Quincy guard the bank where perchance he might be landed, I will take Madam Mina right into the heart of the enemy's own country, whilst the old fox is tied in his box, floating on the running stream, whence he cannot escape to land, where he dares not raise the lid of his coffin box, lest his Slovak carriers should in fear leave him to perish. We shall go in the track where Jonathan went, from Bistritz over the Borgo, and find our way to the castle of Dracula. Here, Madam Mina's hypnotic power will surely help, and we shall find our way, all dark and unknown otherwise. After the first sunrise, when we are near that fateful place, there is much to be done, and other places to be made sanctify, so that the nest of vipers be obliterated.
Here Jonathan interrupted him hotly.
Whoa! Do you mean to say, Professor Van Helsing, that you would bring Mina, in her sad case, and tainted as she is with the devil's illness, right into the jaws of his death trap? Not for the world! Not for heaven or hell!
He became almost speechless for a minute, and then went on.
Do you know what the place is? Have you seen that awful den of hellish infamy, with the very moonlight alive with grisly shapes, and every speck of dust that whirls in the wind a devouring monster in embryo? Have you felt the vampire's lips upon your throat?
Here he turned to me, and as his eyes lit upon my forehead, he threw up his arms with a cry.
Oh my God! What have we done? What have we done to have this terror upon us?
Oh, he sank down on the sofa in a collapse of misery. The professor's voice, as he spoke in clear, sweet tones which seemed to vibrate the air, calmed us all.
Oh, my friend! It is because I would save Madam Mina from that awful place that I would go. God forbid that I should take her into that place. There is work, wild work, to be done there, that her eyes may not see. We men here, all save Jonathan, have seen with their own eyes what is to be done before the place can be purified. Remember that we are in terrible straits if the Count escape us this time, and he is strong and subtle and cunning. He may choose to sleep him for a century, and would be as those others that you, Jonathan, saw. You have told us of their gloating lips. You heard their ribald laugh as they clutched the moving bag that the Count threw to them. You shudder, and well it may be. Forgive me that I make you so much pain, but it is necessary, my friend! Is it not a dire need for the which I am giving possibly my life? If it were that anyone went into that place to stay, it is I who would have to go to keep them company. Do as you will! We're all in the hands of God!
So before we get to the later, we had some questions here.
Beautiful.
I don't remember the part where Dracula had his lips on Jonathan's throat. I think that one of Dracula's brides had their lips on
Yeah. No,
Jonathan's throat.
it was bride.
Yeah, and then Dracula ripped him away.
Yeah. That is a thing indeed. Shall we continue?
Yeah, I know it's getting late there in Old London Town. Is Old London Town a different part of London than where you live? I'm guessing it probably is.
No, it's still London.
But so like saying Old London Town doesn't mean only like one old part of London.
No, it doesn't mean the city of London, as in like the square mile. It just means just all of London.
Okay. Well,
But yeah, I'm pretty central, so.
let's
London
go ahead and proceed then.
Later. Oh, it did me good to see the way that these brave men worked. How can women help loving men when they are so earnest and so true and so brave? And, too, it made me think of the wonderful power of money. What it can and cannot do when it is properly applied, and what it might do when it is basely used. I felt so thankful that Lord Godalming is rich, and that both he and Mr. Norris, who has plenty of money, are willing to spend it so freely. For, if they did not, our little expedition could not start, either so promptly or so well equipped, as well within another hour. It is not 3 hours since it was arranged what part each of us was to do. And now Lord Godalming and Jonathan have a lovely steam launch, and with steam up ready to start at a moment's notice. Dr. Seward and Mr. Morris have half a dozen good horses, well appointed. We have all the maps and appliances of various kinds that can be had. Professor Van Helsing and I are to leave by the 11:40 train tonight for Veresti, where we are to get a carriage to drive to the Borgo Pass. We are bringing a good deal of ready money, as we are to buy a carriage and horses. We shall drive ourselves, for we have no one whom we can trust in the matter. The professor knows something of a great many languages, so we shall get on all right. We have all got arms, even for me, a large bore revolver. Jonathan would not be happy unless I was armed, like the rest. Alas, I cannot carry one arm that the rest do. The scar on my forehead forbids that. Dear Dr. Van Helsing comforts me by telling me that I am fully armed, as there may be wolves. The weather is getting colder. Every hour there are snow flurries, which come and go as warnings. Later. It took all my courage to say goodbye to my darling. We may never meet again. Courage, Mina. The professor is looking at you keenly. His look is a warning. There must be no tears now, unless it may be that God will let them fall in gladness.
And that concludes Mina's entry for October 30th. Let's see, we've got some Jonathan Harker and some Dr. Seward, and then one more Mina Harker's journey. So if you're coming in late, you're looking to join us, I've pinned the Project Gutenberg link, and we are about to start Jonathan Harker's journal, October 30th night. I'm trying to think. I don't know if there's anything really, like, wild in any of this, or I did like the thing about, like, there's
wonder of money.
Yeah, there's some sort of joke to, like, universal basic vampire fighting income or something.
It's like the council had a real thing going with all that funding.
Yeah, there's something there. I don't know. It's too late for me to chase that joke. So, Jonathan Harker's journal, October 30th, night. I am writing this in the light from the furnace door of the steam launch. Lord Godalming is firing up. He is an experienced hand at the work, as he had for years a launch of his own on the Thames, and another on the Norfolk Broads. Regarding our plans, we finally decided that Mina's guess was correct, and that if any waterway was chosen for the Count's escape back to his castle, the Sareth, and then the Bistritza at its junction, would be the one. We took it that somewhere about the 47th degree, northern latitude, would be the place chosen for the crossing of the country between the river and the Carpathians. We have no fear in running at a good speed up the river at night. There's plenty of water, and the banks are wide enough apart to make steaming, even in the dark, easy enough. Lord Godalming tells me to sleep for a while, as it is danger for the present, as it is enough for the present for one to be on watch. But I cannot sleep. How can I, with the terrible danger hanging over my darling, and her going out into that awful place? My only comfort is that we are in the hands of God. Only for that faith, it would be easier to die than to live, and so be quit of all the trouble. Mr. Morris and Dr. Seward were off on their long ride before we started. They are to keep up the right bank, far enough off to get on higher lands where they can see a good stretch of the river and avoid the following of its curves. They have, for the first stages, 2 men to ride and lead the spare horses, 4 in all, so as to not excite curiosity. When they dismiss the men, which shall be shortly, they shall themselves look after the horses. It may be necessary for us to join forces. If so, they can mount our whole party. One of the saddles has a movable horn, and can be easily adapted for Mina, if required. It is a wild adventure we are on, as we are rushing along through the darkness, with the cold from the river seeming to rise up and strike us, with all the mysterious voices of the night around us. It all comes home. We seem to be drifting into unknown places and unknown ways, into a whole world of dark and dreadful things. Godalming is shutting the furnace door. 31st October. Still hurrying along. The day has come, and Godalming is sleeping. I am on watch. The morning is bitterly cold. The furnace heat is grateful, though we have heavy fur coats. As yet, we have passed by few open boats, but none of them had on board any box or package of anything like the size of the one we seek. The men were scared every time we turned our electric lamp on them, and they fell on their knees and prayed. 1st November. Evening. No news all day. We have found nothing of the kind we seek. We have now passed into the Bistritza, and if we are wrong in our surmise, our chance is gone. We have overhauled every boat, big and little. Early this morning, one crew took us for a government boat and treated us accordingly. We saw this in a way of smoothing matters, so at Fundu, where the Bistritza runs into the Sereth, we got a Romanian flag, which we now fly conspicuously. With every boat with which we have overhauled since then, this trick has succeeded. We have had every deference shown to us, and not once any objection to whatever we chose to do or asked to do. Some of the Slovaks tell us that a big boat passed them, going at more than the usual speed, as she had a double crew on board. This was before they came to Fundu, so they could not tell us whether the boat turned into the Bistritza or continued up the Sereth. At Fundu, we could not hear of any such boat, so she must have passed there in the night. I am feeling very sleepy. The cold is perhaps beginning to tell upon me, and nature must have rest sometime. Godalming insists that he should keep the first watch. God bless him for all his goodness to poor, dear Mina and me. I do think it's... I don't remember the part of Dracula where they pretended to be the government. That's fun.
Like, yeah, we got a Romanian flag. It worked really well.
Like, I've never really wanted to own a Romanian flag before, but now if I got a boat, I think it would be funny to have one. Although it might be illegal to fly.
Yeah,
It might be illegal.
impersonate.
It might be illegal to keep flags on your boat that are not of your own nationality. Like,
It is,
even
yeah.
if you're not hanging them, like, seriously. Like, if I, like, it might be illegal.
If you had it in the cabin, it'd be fine. But if you actually hung it from your rigging, then
Yeah,
no,
well, that's
it's
what I'm saying, though, is I'm not even sure if it's legal to have non-national flags on board your ship. Like, that might be basically considered, like, intent to commit fraud.
yeah,
I don't
it
know.
might well be. Yeah,
I don't know.
piracy, basically.
If I ever get a little pontoon boat or whatever for the lakes of Tennessee, I'll make sure to not keep my Romanian flag on board. Even though that's the only reason I want to own a Romanian flag ever.
Yeah, to pretend to be the Romanian government so you can search some boats
Yeah. I mean,
in the middle of Tennessee.
not that we can afford a boat anytime soon, but like, okay, so steamboat with Romanian flag seems to be top 3 choices right now, somewhere up there.
Well, we could sail it in the moat of the Scottish
Of
castle.
the Scottish castle, yeah. I heard they don't have any lakes in Scotland. They're all locked.
Ha 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 ha. Sigh.
It's fine. Yeah, if we had swan pedal boats, we can't rent people Romanian flags to fly when they go out. It's like Joe Hills' Romanian flag rentals and pedal boat rentals, but not at the same time.
Mm-hmm. Nope.
You can only have one or the other. You have to check your boat back in to get your Romanian flag and vice versa.
You can have a Romanian flag as a treat.
Yeah. I wonder what the Romanian flag looked like back then. It probably doesn't... I think a lot of European flags have changed over time, right? But I don't know if that one has.
Yeah, I can imagine it quite a lot. I've changed with that.
Yeah. Shannon says, what's the amount needed for the next face camera expansion? We are $5 away from the next face camera expansion. Thank you for asking, Shannon. Tips are welcome via paypal.me/JoeHills and YouTube Super Chat. Joe Hills branded Romanian flags. Just buy Romanian flags and silkscreen an @ sign over them. Now they're street legal for your boats, which don't go on streets. See, it's not a real Romanian flag anymore.
Apparently, it back in the time that this was written, they had two different flags at that point. One was red on top, yellow, and then blue. And then there was the civil ensign of the Principality Kingdom of Romania during the time that this was written. And it was basically the flag they have now without any added inscription stuff.
Well, that's cool. So I wonder which one would have been appropriate to fly. Then again, these guys don't know which one's appropriate to fly. They're just buying whatever Romanian flag they can get down the corner shop, you know. Gusty Gale tips 5 and yells, "Grow!" Whoa, sorry. Yells, "Grow hills!" Oh boy, I am really tired. It has been a big day. So, yeah, sorry about that. Also, I kind of moved the mic because I thought it would be easier to do the... Anyway, here we go. Expand Joes. I thought it'd be easier to do the Van Helsing bits if I had the mic in an easier to get to place. But easier to get to means easier to whack, apparently. Looks like we got a tip rolling in via PayPal as well from Amber. Or wait, no. Okay, I think I misread this. Okay. So is this person saying their name? Okay, I think this person was trying to say their name and then that they are loving the Dracula reading. But I thought they were saying they were at a place because their name sounds like a place. Like from Mississippi, loving the Dracula reading type of thing. But now I don't want to say their name because I accidentally said the other name. My bad. But yeah, you did this right. You opened by saying your name. It just sounded like you were at, like, a thing. It sounded like you were saying you were at an event. Like, hey, from Saturday Night Live's Q, loving the Dracula reading. Like, I'm just watching this on my phone while I wait in line for Saturday Night Live or something. I am so sorry. But thank you for the 5. That gets us 15 away from the next Face Gamer expansion. And then Edward tips 10 and says, my contribution to the sailing ship of the hills. Or it might be steamship. SS. Yeah, SS could be steamship. Steamship of the hills. Oh my gosh. I've got to move this mic stand. I can't. Okay. Well, now I can't read the chat. I got to move it again.
Bonk. Bonk.
You can hear it. They can't because I muted OBS. Sorry.
I know. I was.
You're providing the bonk sounds.
Providing the bonks as a treat.
Yeah. Okay. Where were we?
2nd November morning.
That's right. We're reading Dracula. Okay. Yeah. We don't have very much left. I think we can power through.
Yeah.
2nd November morning. It is broad daylight. The good fellow would not wake me. He says it would have been a sin to, for I slept peacefully and was forgetting my trouble. It seems brutally selfish for me to have slept for so long and to let him watch all night. But he is quite right. I am a new man this morning. And as I sit here and watch him sleeping, I can do all is necessary, both to minding the engine, steering, and keeping watch. I can feel that my strength and energy are coming back to me. I wonder where Mina is now, and Van Helsing. They should have got to Veresti about noon on Wednesday. It would take them some time to get the carriage and the horses, so if they had started and traveled hard, they would about now be at the Borgo Pass. God guide and help them. I am afraid to think what might happen. If only we could go faster, but we cannot. The engines are throbbing and doing their utmost. I wonder how Dr. Seward and Mr. Morris are getting on. There seem to be endless streams running down the mountains into the river, but none of them are very large at present. At all events, though they are terrible doubtless in winter, and when the snow melts, the horsemen may not have met much obstruction. I hope that before we get to Strasba, we may see them, for if that by that time we have not overtaken the Count, it will be necessary to take counsel together what to do next. Dr. Seward's diary. 2nd November. 3 days on the road. No news, and no time to write it if there had been, for every moment is precious. We have had only the rest needed for the horses, but we are both bearing it wonderfully. These adventurous days of ours are turning up useful. We must push on. We shall never feel happy till we get the launch in sight again. 3rd November. We heard at Fundu that the launch had gone up the Bistritza. I need to learn how to say this. Bistritza.
Bistritza. Yeah.
Bistritza. Okay. I wish it wasn't so cold. There are signs of snow coming, and if it falls heavily, it will stop us. In such case, we must get a sledge and go on, Russian fashion. 4th November. Today we have heard of the launch having been detained by an accident while trying to force a way up the rapids. The Slovaks' boats get up all right by aid of a rope and steering with knowledge. Some went up only a few hours before. Godalming is an amateur fitter himself, and evidently it was he who put the launch in trim again. Finally, they got up the rapids all right, with local help, and are off to chase afresh. I fear the boat is not any better for the accident. The peasantry tell us that after she got upon the smooth water again, she kept stopping now and again so long as she was in sight. We must push on harder than ever. Our help may be wanted soon.
Mina Harker's journal. 31st of October. Arrived at Vresti at noon. The professor tells me that this morning at dawn he could hardly hypnotize me at all, and that all I could say was dark and quiet. He is now off buying a carriage and horses. He says that he will later on try to buy additional horses so that we may be able to change them on the way. We have something more than 70 miles before us. The country is lovely and most interesting. If only we were under different conditions. How delightful it would have been to see it all. If Jonathan and I were driving through it alone, what a pleasure it would be to stop and see people and learn something of their life, and to fill our minds and memories with all the colour and picturesqueness of the whole wild, beautiful country and the quaint people. But, alas. Later. Dr. Van Helsing has returned. He has got the carriage and horses. We are to have some dinner, and to start in an hour. The landlady is putting us up a huge basket of provisions. It seems enough for a company of soldiers. The professor encourages her and whispers to me that it may be a week before we get any good food again. He has been shopping too, and has sent home such a wonderful lot of fur coats and wraps, and all sorts of warm things. There will not be any chance of our being cold.
You know,
We
my
shall soon
favorite
be
part.
off.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Before you move on, since there's a little section break there, I just wanted to say, you know, I think it's a little bit of a shame that Van Helsing didn't have that. I think that it would be really great to capture Van Helsing whispering, "It may be a week before we get any good food again." Van Helsing whispered. Elsa, we got a tip rolling in for 20 from Jimmy. Thank you very much, Jimmy. Appreciate it. That is going to get us, boom, 15 past our next Phase Gamer expansion milestone. if y'all are enjoying the show, please feel free to toss us a tip. This is our second to last chapter of Dracula. Tips are welcome via paypal.me/Joe Hills and YouTube Super Chat. Let's go ahead and expand Joe. Okay. So, if you want to go ahead and knock out that last paragraph after the section break, I will not interrupt you.
We shall soon be off. I am afraid to think what may happen to us. We are truly in the hands of God. He alone knows what may be, and I pray him with all the strength of my sad and humble soul that he will watch over my beloved husband, that whatever may happen, Jonathan may know that I loved him and honoured him more than I can say, and that my latest and truest thought will always be for him.
Bum, bum, bum. Thus concludes Dracula chapter 26. So we've got boats, we've got horses, we've got carriages, we've got ludicrous quantities of food. Everybody's
It's like
favorite
planes,
stuff.
trains, and automobiles.
Yeah,
But, vampires.
Exactly. A little bit of a precursor there. Badger, I know it is late and I don't want to keep you longer than needed, but though you are welcome to stick around if you want to for me to record an intro and outro for this thing at
I
Vintage
will.
Beefs.
I will definitely excuse myself from the voice chat, but I will be hanging around on the stream.
Okay, well, thank you again so much. It's always a real treat to have you here with me on the show.
And we can finish it once and for all
Next week. The last Dracula. So, alrighty. Well,
Anyway, good night, guys, and thank you for having me again, Joe.
oh, thanks as always for joining us. Sweet dreams and enjoy the rest of the stream.
Bye.
Bye. Alrighty, so we are going to disconnect from Discord here, and then we are going to head to Vintage Beef's place, because one of the last things I need to do for this upcoming episode, I think I have just finished the entire fight. I need to go back and review. I've got the footage encoding while we're streaming, because, wow, these special effects add a lot of encoding time. But I've got the middle section encoding just to look for any graphical glitches with all the special effects and stuff. If that's all good, and even if it's not, like, it'll be a few tweaks. If you haven't seen it yet, I posted, or I showed earlier, kind of an excerpt of how far I've gotten with the visuals. I'm just going to be quiet for a second and show you that.
Let's attack stress.
With goat. Oh,
With-
right,
with
with
goat.
Doc, correct.
Yeah.
So that's 70 to 10.
I think Joe's got this one.
Okay, so I'm going to attack Doc with Geezer for 80 and draw a
Okay.
card, and then my turn.
Such a close game.
So anyway, that's just like a short thing. But yeah, I've got special effects for all the hermits that showed up in that video. And I've been... Oh, boy. I've been really, really excited about getting this out the door. So I've got a whole big thing that I don't need to do for this episode, but that I owe Cleo and Beef. I'm on the hook for taking every single card that's on display and generating a high-resolution screenshot. We're not going to have sound effects for the first test. And there goes my connection to the server. Sound effects are one of those things that I want to have, but I decided they're out of scope. I have spent tens of hours editing this episode. Like, this is the most edited episode I've done in years. And so in order to, like, avoid never finishing it, I'm just like, I basically said, sound effects are out of scope. I will do sound effects on a future... I think sound effects are needed and will be really beneficial once we actually get the game live. But while I'm doing all this other testing stuff, like, it was going to be too much for me to try and do that. Okay. So, one of the things that I'm responsible for is I have to take every map. Oh, great. I'm going to have to probably set my HUD Video settings. Where's the quality performance? Smooth lighting. I guess what I could do is GUI scale. Yeah. Okay. I guess what I could do is just make the game taller. No, it's... Oh, and now my GUI scale is going to be wrong when I record. Wait, hold on. Is the GUI scale set to 0? That means auto. If we set it to 1. Yeah. Okay, so if I just set the GUI scale like that. So, oh, it's kind of a shame that there's a dot indicating where I am. And a crosshair. Okay. I might have to think this through better. Well, if I just make the monitor gigantic and I put this in my offhand, you still have, I might have to just use the replay mod camera and fly past these and take, maybe what I'll do is I'll set up a thing where I cycle these through being mounted on a post or something. Because I need to pick them all up anyway, because one of the things I'm also responsible for is taking a screenshot of all of the hover text as well. And I'm going to need the GUI to be a big size again for that. Video settings, GUI scale. Let's bring that back to where it was. Auto, apply, done. Okay, so now I'm realizing, though, if I'm going to do this recording of the intro and outro, I need to fix my... Where's my... Okay, so I'm currently at 1331 high, and it needs to be at 1080. That's 1100. 1082. 1080. Woo! We eyeballed it. We got it right. Look at that. 1080. Woo! Okay. So, turn crosshairs off. Yeah, I know. I'm going to have to do that. So the F1 key gets rid of anything you have in your hand is the thing. So if I had this in my hand and I press F1 to make the crosshair go away. So yeah, I'm thinking I might just mount this somewhere in replay. If I go through mounting each of these on a special like photo post in replay mod, I can make sure to get the exact right angle and distance and everything every time. Kindle says if you're willing to use maps to get the screenshots, MiniHUD has a map preview feature that will show you the map in your inventory and can also increase the size of the preview maps in the settings. I'd have to look into it. The thing I'm describing, I could start on as soon as the episode's done. The thing you're describing, I'd have to figure out how to get a mod to work, which is a different kind of hassle. Hey, we got another tip rolling in. Let's see who it's from. Incredimike, just tip 20, who says, here's a Grow Joe Dono. Lovely to see Badger too. It is always fantastic to see Badger. Yes, indeed. That gets us 15 past our next Face Gamer expansion milestone. So here we go. Grow Hills. Do. That puts us 5 away from the entrance of the Jost. Tips are welcome via paypal.me/Joe Hills and YouTube Super Chat. Eclog says you already have MiniHUD as part of the general HermitCraft pack. There's not a HermitCraft pack. There's a Empires pack. Empires people gave us a pack. Maybe somebody gave the Empires people a HermitCraft pack at some point, but the HermitCraft people don't have that, I don't think. No, HermitCraft, no, people don't have the same set of mods in HermitCraft. Half the people are running Sodium, half the people are running Optifine. Other people, like, the only thing that everybody runs is the voice mod. That's the only thing that we all have. Miguel Angel says, what would you like for your personal deck, Joe? I'm just going to see what's in my starter pack and what's in my first few booster packs and play organically from there. I'm just going to follow the heart of the cards on that. So, okay. People this season mentioned getting a pack from X. He had some sort of list of mods or like a bunch of random links to things way at the beginning. Yeah, I think he linked a bunch of stuff, but like, oh wait, what is this? This might be spoilers. Oh no, this is probably the what's strong against what wall. Oh boy, I don't have, my brain isn't ready for that. Okay, so let's just stand so we can have this in the. Okay, let's. Where do we want to stand to get this to do the intro? Okay, I think the intro. We want to come maybe in here. Is that bed still over here that Beef moved? We had moved a bed somewhere over here. Now I can't find it. There it is. I was literally standing on it. People are saying, assuming he usually shares his own personal pack, he did a video reviewing his HermitCraft mods setup. Okay, well, that's fine, but I don't know if this... I don't want to break all the stuff that I spent a bunch of time setting up by starting from scratch with a random zip file from Asuma. Because I've got my replay mod and all my stuff set up just optimally. So I'm not gonna go do that. Is somebody talking about the number of likes? Gosh, okay, yeah. Don't do that. That's really rude. That's really rude. Like, don't ever do that. Don't... Like, I have enough problems without being neurotic about numbers. Don't bring up numbers about, like, people's views or likes and stuff. That's really terrible. Eclog says, I only mentioned it because I thought you were already using it. If not, don't bother. Yeah, no. The other thing with Replay Mod is I can force Fulbright and a bunch of other stuff. Like, I can... Replay Mod also has a bunch of, like, specialized screenshot export options and other things. I don't know. Like, in some ways, it's just faster to use the tool I already know. But anyway, let's go ahead and switch to recording mode and start recording. HermitCraft Season 9, Episode 52, Segment Intro, Take 1, and action. I'm not dressed for this at all. Howdy, y'all. Joe Hills here, recording as I always do in Nashville, Tennessee, and I am back at the HermitCraft TCG area. Here is what is going on. Cleo and I have both created 2 pitches for plausible playable starter decks for Vintage Beef to try using as recipes, as baselines for the sort of thing that he might provide the Hermits. We're going to test those out today. Beef has also given us each the chance to choose one random booster pack following the rough algorithm he's come up with for how he's going to distribute the cards in those. That algorithm might be terrible. We'll have to find out through the magic of testing. I also was going to have a bunch of stuff in this episode about like playtesting and setting up the game and stuff, but I ended up way over my head, learning about animating special effects. So please enjoy the episode. If you have comments, thoughts, criticisms, especially of the special effects, please share them in the YouTube comment section below. You won't hurt my feelings. I spent more time working on this stuff and ripping it out and redoing it and starting over than I have spent editing basically any episode in the last few years. I am feeling like I am on fire with learning new things in Final Cut Pro today and this week and last week. But I want to learn things that actually make the videos better, so feel free to share your feedback in the comments below. And let's start the show! Okay. So, there we go. Okay, so we got that. The outro. I was working on I need to pull up the list of who we need to thank. And I was working on a haiku. I usually like to wait to do the haikus. I like to write the haikus after I've finished editing most of the episode. So it looks like it's Winnie T. Ford. Because I like the haiku to really tie the themes of the episode together at the end. And so let me... oh boy, my phone I have taken so many notes today while editing. And the haiku, first draw 7. First draw 7 cards. Then prepare to be attacked. First draw 7 cards. Then prepare to be attacked. I don't know if this is any good. I feel like doing a haiku about the animations would be wiser, but y'all haven't gotten to see the animations really, other than like the one test clip that I keep showing that I'm not going to show again. The Pracker says it's interesting hearing the difference between the video voice and the streaming voice. Video voice, you have to talk faster so you can keep your runtime down. It's easier to talk faster than to edit down talking slowly. So, okay. Miguel Anguil says, "What's your must-have hermit/effect?" I'm really interested in the opportunities that the lead card creates. In terms of must-have hermits, I'm gonna wait and build my deck around what I get. If I get like a particularly good ultra rare hermit or whatever, rather than like, oh, I'm gonna trade that and get a bunch of, middle tier cards. Like if I get something crazy in here from this special wall, I'm using it. And like, maybe I don't know how to build my deck around Pearl or Grian or Jevin or whatever now, but I'll figure it out at that point. I'm not going to overplan this. I'm focusing on the editing side of things right now so that and I'm going to just play the game on camera as I go. Rare Hypno is going to be modified. That was one of the things that was learned in playtesting. Like I said, one of my jobs to help Beef is I need to take screenshots of all of the and not just screenshots. I need to take consistent screenshots of all of the alt text or whatever, all the hover text on all the cards, except for the Rare Hypno. He told me the Rare Hypno is about to change, so don't bother taking a screenshot of that one. So, yeah. If something is clearly broken, yeah, that was in the Tango versus X game, the strength and weakness table. Cool. Okay, so, where was I? So I need to record the outro. We need a haiku. We need to thank Winnie T. Ford. Explosions and dust. Lightning. Explosions and dust. Lightning bubbles. That's 4. Lightning bubbles and what are other things I have animated? Lightning bubbles and aging. Let the show begin. Yeah, that's how we're gonna... Okay, I got it. Okay. So we're gonna wrap up the episode in front of a different set of these. Yeah, here we go. I don't know if I want all these cows. Maybe I want to... I think just maybe we do it in the same area. We just have a different angle. Yeah. My eyes. I'm not used to walking around like this. Okay. And we're back in. What a game! I know that y'all have places to be and things to go do, so I won't keep you. But I did want to thank Winnie T. Ford for allowing us to enjoy this entire game mid-roll ad-free. Thank you for being a longtime supporter on Patreon, Winnie T. Ford. In lieu of that mid-roll ad, I will now read a haiku of my own devising. Explosions and dust. Lightning, bubbles, and aging. Let the show begin. Until next time, y'all, this is Joe Hills from Nashville, Tennessee. Keep adventuring. Okay, so we're going to stop the recording. That's not the end of the stream. That's just the end of the recording.
Let's
so
attack
we're turning
stress.
we're turning the recording mode off. We're turning the streaming mode back on. We got our face camera here. Let's make sure we didn't miss any tips during that. Okay. Okay, so, yeah, seriously, y'all. I am super hype about this episode. Even if you watched Beef's point of view of it, I worked really hard on the editing and would love it if you just tried to watch it and give me your feedback. It's hopefully going to go out tomorrow. But yeah, I am going to go and work on that now while it is still reasonably early in the evening for a Saturday. Let's see. Oh, is it Indiscs? Indisc is right now. Let me see. I don't... Okay, let's see. Before we make a decision... Well... You know what? It doesn't look like there's like an active streamer in the booth at Indisc. So let's go ahead and raid Spicy Haminator, who is playing Minecraft. We raided him when he was playing pinball on the NES one time, and he's been a fun streamer to keep up with from time to time. Does some Smash Brothers, does some Minecraft, does some pinball. So we're going to raid Spicy Haminator. When you get over there, our raid message is, howdy y'all, Joe Hills raid here. Thank y'all so much for joining me for Dracula tonight. Thank you for being such an excellent audience as well for my fantastic betrothed. I am really glad that y'all seem to be having a lot of fun with Dracula, and I will catch you next week for the conclusion. Okay, before I get killed in Beef's land because it's nighttime. Until next time, y'all, this is Joe Hills from Nashville, Tennessee. Keep adventuring. Do-do-do-do.